Tonight, the points have been reset once again, as we'll see which drivers in the round of 8 will be able to cement their spot into the championship 4. The West Coast swing begins tonight. Welcome to the Racing Line Network here with Season 7 of the Full Send Racing Series here. Welcome to the virtual desert under the lights for the Texas Speed 150 here to start off the round of 8 at the one and the only Phoenix Raceway. It's going to be one heck of an event here tonight. Currently, this is actually quite interesting. It is the 60th year of this track's operation. Same layout as well in the sense. Of course, a few changes between then and now, most notably the movement of the start-finish line and some of the grandstands, as this track currently holds the final race of the NASCAR season. Last week, Brian McCann was the one who was victorious under, well, I was going to say under the lights, but that was at Homestead for Cameron Sarton, no less. Last week, for his favorite track, if I remember correctly, Brian McCann was victorious at the Milwaukee Mile, firmly cementing his spot into the round of 8, even though he had already mathematically locked himself in. I'll go ahead and get that on your screen here for the schedule. Tony Brent had originally missed last week's race as well, and he was given last place points. Approximately, it was 22 points, and that was just enough to get him into the round of 8. As we switch over from the schedule to the championship standings, it was a 1-point difference originally between Travis Starr and Tony Brent. Tony Brent at the time, despite having missed the race, was at 1,066 points. Travis Starr ran into a few issues last week along with Heberly Telemac, and Zachary Lovelace did not show up for last week, but luckily he is here this week. So those are your standings, or these are your standings here going into these next 2 weeks. Brian McCann, Cameron Sarton already have a few points on the board, playoff points, more specifically due to the race wins that they've had so far this season. So that's why there are 27 extra points for Brian McCann and 15 extra points for Cameron Sarton. It is 3 points per win. Everybody else, however, is all tied at 2,000 points. We do have still a race for 13th in the championship. Larry Griffin, Doug Pierce tied on 323 points, as well as after this, after the round of 8 specifically, it will be all the points, or the, let me see if I can phrase this properly. The championship points will be removed from the 5th through 8th place, and then it will be 5th through 12th place fighting in the points in the last 2 weeks of the season. But of course, we still have to get through this entire these next 2 weeks, especially Phoenix under the lights here. So let's go ahead and take a look and see where drivers are at here in qualifying, as well, pretty much everyone has already done a qualifying lap, all except for 2 drivers. So instead, we're going to go ahead and show you the starting grid going into tonight, as we'll go ahead and bring it to live pictures. So it is Hunter Karsten who has qualified on the pole here at Phoenix only by just about 0.04 of a second ahead of Cameron Sarton. And it'll be very interesting to see how this pace fares for Hunter Karsten. Great start for him, though, heading into this week. Potentially giving him some extra points here if he can keep the points heading into the stage, which that stage, by the way, is at lap 90. Very late in the running of this race, so attrition is going to be the key thing here. Next row holds Brian McCann in the number 8 machine. Philip Chavez in the 101, his last race of this season. As he said, he was able to make this race, but the last 3, due to, I believe, real-life commitments, he is missing, unfortunately. It was great to see him this season. I think he's been here to every race. So it is fantastic to see him running here tonight. 5th place is running out by the one and the only Tony Brent. 6th place holds the 6th car of Jonathan Bird. Always fantastic to see him hovering around that position. Michael Thorpe Jr. starts off in the 7th place position. Alongside him is David McConnell in the 22 in 8th place. 9th place holds the 17 of William Duff. Travis Dart rounds out the top 10 position in that number 26 machine. That's the first time I am hearing music in the background. To break the fourth wall here for a second. You hear that in the background. That's the first time I've ever heard anything of the sort at this track. iRacing is very surprising with the detail they have. Anyway, round number 6 holds Heberly Telemack and Ryan Lynch. No, yeah, that's definitely coming from the virtual track. That is absolutely wild. That's why I went silent for a second. It's like, am I really hearing that? That is genuinely surprising. All right, then Heberly Telemack and Ryan Lynch start off 11th and 12th. 13th place is Daniel McConnell. The field being rounded out by 2 drivers who did not take a qualifying time, that being the 33 of Zachary Lovelace. Good to see him back on track. And the 39 of Doug Pierce rounds out the 15-car field here for tonight. Pace car is rolling off. We're about to get underway for 150 miles, 150 laps. A very late stage here. Once again, the stage ends at lap 90, so a lot of the pit strategy could play into effect here before we even get into pretty much the halfway point. So well into the halfway point of this race, everything should be stabilized. Pace car has pulled off into pit road. And the field is in control of the number 13 of Hunter Karsten. We are under the lights here at Phoenix Raceway, and the green flag flies here, 150 miles under the lights. First lap led and caution is out already. The 88 of Heberly Telemack is around early on. First lap led by Hunter Karsten, and just like that, we are already under caution. Well, I guess I have to update the caution stat then, because the last time we had a caution was, well, Milwaukee on lap 61, but now it is Phoenix, lap number 2, I'll give it. William Duff already into pit road. Let's go ahead and see what happened here as we bring everything up for a replay. So taking a look from up above, the 17 of William Duff. On the inside as Telemack goes right around the outside. Great move. And it looks like, a stack up from up ahead. Even the 26 got loose. So something happened with the 34 of Michael Thorpe Jr. Let's go ahead and see what angles we can get here. Very early caution. And it looks like it's just a lot of grip being lost. And that happened to 3 different cars. The 34, the 26, and the 88, the 17 had nowhere to go. He is currently sitting in his pit box, repairing damage. Let's ride on board the 17. And just nowhere to go, unfortunately. While the pace car is out early tonight, Hopefully everyone is handling the daylight savings time change as well, as pretty much everybody except Arizona has switched their clocks, I think, forward 1 hour. Or backwards? It's one of the two. As someone who is from where this track is located, we know nothing about daylight savings for the most part. But still, regardless, a later evening for myself. Such as the life of dealing with daylight savings, despite not being in a state that has daylight savings. So let's see. Looks like Hunter Carson does choose the inside lane. We haven't really seen a lot of lane choice throughout this season too much. On restarts, the leader is allowed to change, to choose whether or not they want the inside or the outside lane. Of course, everyone usually runs to the inside lane, so again, we haven't seen too much in regards to lane choice. It's not exactly the most necessary thing. Pace car in pit road. Now, the restart zone, of course, is in effect, so having to stay at this speed, as we'll show it on the bottom, 55 miles an hour all the way up until this restart zone. Still all the way there where the Geico sign is.
Green flag, green flag.
Green flag is waved. Hunter Carson leads them back down through the dogleg into turn 1. So they go side by side for second place. Phil Chavez just barely had it there. Michael Thorpe Jr. way inside, 3 wide, all the way down to the apron. Sliding in the background is the 101 of Phil Chavez. He holds on to it, and he just comes back out on the racetrack. Well, for those curious, air temperature is 73 degrees. Track temperature only 76. One of the rare times that the track temperature is being nice to the drivers for the most part, as we see the 34 of Michael Thorpe Jr. trying his best to get outside and to get inside into the top 10. Let's take a look at the live championship standings now as things stand, as the 6 of Jonathan Burt has a little bit of a moment here. Way out to the outside, nearly hits the outside wall. He'll run through the middle, around the outside. Can he get alongside the 8 of Brian McCann on corner exit? He does, just holds on to it too. Despite sliding, Jonathan Burt is rocketing around that middle lane. Michael Thorpe Jr. as well, trying to fight for the 6th place position. Clearing Brian McCann is the 6 of Jonathan Burt. This could help him a huge amount when it comes to the stage, but we're still 80 laps away from the stage anyway, so a long ways to go here. Jonathan Burt looks to the inside, not able to carry the momentum off of turn number 2, so he'll just stick right behind that number 1 machine. Look at Michael Thorpe Jr. just trying to barrel his way down through to the apron. It is allowed, but that has cost him the 7th place, or 4th place position, actually. He has held on to it nonetheless. As looking up ahead, the 6 of Jonathan Burt looks to the inside of Cameron Sargent again. Can't quite get there, though. as the 34 of Thorpe will move to the inside of McCann, side by side, down the back straightaway for 4th place, into turns 3 and 4. And just like that, the 34 is up into 4th place, putting Brian McCann on the back foot. Travis Start has started 10th place. He's currently running there in 4th. Look at the 34 again, just using all of the available apron. Again, it is legal. This is allowed. The only punishment is the pit barrels there on the outside or the inside lane. The only punishment is also having the inside lane open to the 8 of Brian McCann. Very susceptible here through the tri-oval. I said the tri-oval, it's more the dog leg than anything, but he does manage to defend that position. Riding on board, Travis Start, as he just places his car behind the 8 of Brian McCann. Scrapes the outside wall there. Heard a little bit of that down the back straightaway. Jonathan Bird way down to the inside, trying to get some sort of a run on the 1 of Cameron Sargent. And then the 34 will go to the inside himself, side by side for 3rd. Having used the blimp a little bit more often tonight, apparently. As there goes the 6 to the inside. Sargent tried to defend the outside lane. It is side by side for 2nd place. And it looks like that has caught up with him. He's actually slowing quite a lot. No, okay, just the angle. Side by side for 4th place now. Travis Start on the apron himself. 34 of Michael Thorpe Jr. will go around the outside of the 26. No dice just yet. And even though he's not eligible for a championship spot necessarily, he is still putting up one heck of a fight, that 26 car. Something to know as well, the 17 of William Duff is out of this race, potentially. Too much front end damage for William Duff, so effectively in a must-win situation here. And it's really heartbreaking. A very consistent driver in terms of finishing in the top 10 positions. And having his night ended early from that front-end contact is, of course, very disappointing. And of course, drivers in yellow are championship eligible. I would say anyone in green is locked in, but we don't necessarily have that just yet. We're not quite there. Hypothetically, I believe Brian McCann could mathematically lock himself in. He just has to be 45 points above the cut line. Pretty much goes for any driver. Either you win or you point your way in. As we'll ride on board, the 34 making his way up through the field. Starts 7th, currently sits in 3rd, 4th, up 3 positions. That's where my brain was trying to go. Same goes for Jonathan Burr. He started 6th, so 1st and 2nd. So in terms of drivers where they started, in fact, we should have, yes, we do, over on the left-hand side of your screen, those are the starting positions of these drivers. So 1st and 2nd, 6th and 7th, 3rd, 10th, 5th, 4th. Just in case it wasn't obvious that a lot has gone on here to shuffle the field. And that is Zachary Lovelace here in the 33. He's about to go a 2nd lap down. He did pit early on, not sure as to why. Oh, wait a minute, 34. Does he have enough momentum to close the door? 26 of Dart into the outside wall. Side by side for 3rd into turn 3. This is so rapid fire, I have no idea what's happening at this point, but a lot of positions being swapped here. Michael Thorpe Jr., though, officially, for sure, that's something we all know, is now in the top 3. .33 of Zachary Lovelace is already well out of the way here. Hunter Karsten still leads. Cameron Sargent still 2nd. 3rd place being fought over by Thorpe and Burt. Brian McCann, I would say shockingly, has stagnated to 5th place. And I say shockingly, considering how McCann has usually been a top 3 runner. Same goes for Cameron Sarton. Sarton comfortably in the top 3 right now, but this is fantastic for the 34. Let's go ahead and show once again the championship points as these drivers run. So as things stand for Brian McCann, he cannot mathematically lock himself in just yet. He is currently 26 points above the cut line. Pass in the back between Ryan Lynch and Doug Pierce. Let's go ahead and go back up front. Look at the 34. Michael Thorpe Jr. flashes up to the lead for a second. Just nearly makes contact with the one of Cameron Sarton. He tried to go all the way to the inside wall. He's the one who's being very, very aggressive. It's one of those things where, well, if the track is available to be used, why not use quite literally all of it? And that is exactly what he is doing. And I don't blame him one bit. If it's allowed, then why not do it? Look at the 6 of Jonathan Burt carrying the momentum into turn 1. Almost at turn 3 there for a second. That was a few years ago now. So a very firm lead being held by the 13 of Hunter Karsten so far this race. But no doubt a brewing battle for what effectively could be pretty much any of these positions. So does Michael Thorpe Jr. make a move to the inside lane? Sarton is going to be the one to look below. As we ride on board Michael Thorpe, he sees this battle up ahead. But not enough momentum carried on the inside. This could put Sarton on the back foot. Does Michael Thorpe go to the inside? He does. Is he there? He barely is, just by a nose. Not able to make the move stick into turns 1 and 2. So he will fall back, reset, try again here. Look at the momentum being carried by Jonathan Burt there on corner entry. That is absolutely incredible. And oh, by the way, move for first place might be incoming. Might be for second place. I think the 34 slid on corner entry there. Oh, caution is out. It's the 72 of Daniel McConnell, who quickly tows back to pit road. And just like that, the rapid-fire laps have calmed down. We are already 30 laps into this event. We're already about, what, 15 minutes into the race, just about. At least on average. No doubt everyone's going to head to pit road, so while they do that, we'll go ahead and get a replay sorted out for everyone here to see what exactly happened to the number 72 heading into turns 3 and 4. Well, this is one lap earlier, but still a replay nonetheless. So let's ride on board with the 72. Potentially could have been a hardware failure, since right here it looks like he's all on his own. And again, we have seen drivers getting loose on the apron, or on the inside. Let's listen in. That is quite strange. I guess might have been right with hardware failure. That's a tongue twister apparently today. Hardware failure. There we go. That took way too long. So, of course, he does have a couple internet issues heading into turn 3 and then just goes straight on. So I wonder if it's more than a quote-unquote regular hardware failure, but regardless, caution is out. As we come back live, we take a look to see a new leader as Hunter Karsten has sped on pit entry. That's the only reason why he's already at the back of the field. Now, you won't be able to see the intricate speeds here, but let's go ahead and rewind this really quickly. So let's see, pit road speed coming into here is... Let's go ahead and slow motion this really quickly. So we also have time to see what the pit speed limit is. It should be 45, and that is correct. So 45, and pit road entry is, in fact, not here. You don't have to meet pit speed up until right here, right where these cones are. 45 miles an hour on pit entry. So we'll quickly impromptu fast forward, because we can't exactly skip ahead and sit through this entire process. So right here, he is accelerating on pit exit. That is strange. For some reason, a 4 wide pit exit actually as well. And 5 if you count the 6 and the 8 overlapping each other. But he was first off. It's not sure as to why the 13 had to go to the back of the field. So he met pit speed as far as I can tell. The lights are still active on the pace car. I doubt this would be a question for race control, who is not here this week. Rare day off for Steve Benjamin. At least in terms of... No, correction, he is here. Just hiding, apparently. But a very strange thing for Hunter Karsten. It was not an admin given end-of-the-line penalty either, so... who really knows? We'll see if we can maybe ask him a little bit later on. But regardless, pace car is in pit road. You see Cameron Sarton is off the throttle occasionally. You can see from the backfire there. Coming to lap number 36 here on the restart.
Green flag, green flag.
And green flag flies once again. Well, 6 Jonathan Burt absolutely did not get going off the restart. That allows Brian McCann to get to second place. Michael Thorpe Jr. could be going back up to third here once again. He goes to the inside of the 6 of Jonathan Burt. Down to the low point of the dogleg into turns 1 and 2. Left side tires just below the white or the yellow line. Still side by side as Jonathan Burt tries to hang on for third. Proves successful. Off corner exit. Down the back straightaway they go. And sticking with him on the outside lane is the 6 machine. Half a car length separates them at the start-finish line. And it is still a dead heat between these two. Does Thorpe go to the apron? He does not. And off turn number 2, a very successful defense of third place. I think Jonathan Burt maybe tried to look to the inside there for second place. Both the 6 and the 34 got loose. Meanwhile, in this second group back here is side by side for 10th place between Dave McConnell and Doug Pierce. McConnell moves up into the 10th place spot. It is side by side again for third place. Drag race into turn number 3. Can the 6 get done on the outside? 2 by 2 by almost 2. into turns 1 and 2 once again. Does Michael Thorpe use the apron? He does. You have to be careful though. He might slide up on the outside. Crossover to the inside. Goes the number 6. Momentum shift in the favor of Jonathan Burt. He finally moves up to the 3rd place position, but the 34 is still there. This has brought in Travis Dart, who nearly pit maneuvered the 34. He was inches from making contact. I'd say can we calm down for a second, but we just had that about twice. Does the 28 of Tony Brent make a move? No, he stays behind the 26 of Travis Dart. Jonathan Burt finally with some clear air, a little bit of time to relax in the process. Out front it is Cameron Sarton and Brian McCann. Hunter Karsten has already blown his way up through the field. Maybe flown through the field is the phrase I was trying to go for. I think my brain was going with blown by everybody and flown up through the field, but we kind of got there in the end. A bit of a strange phrase, but we got there in the end. Already Karsten up to 5th place. Well, it looks like we finally have a little bit of time to relax, and well, right when I say that, the 6 of Jonathan Burt last time by at the start-finish line was about a 1/10 of a second faster than both front runners. This track has suited the 6 incredibly well. Last time by at the start-finish line, again, about 8/10 of a second. Look at Michael Thorpe Jr. way to the inside, slides up the track, somehow avoids contact with the 6 of Jonathan Burt, but he is using all of the available racetrack there to the inside. Starting to be a bit proud of that camera placement that I made because, geez, I'm going to need a wider angle lens at this point. Hunter Karsten might try and make a move himself. He decides against it. Thorpe stays on the racetrack this time, although effectively the apron is the racetrack. There's effectively nothing stopping from any driver on using the inside lane, using the apron every single lap. I thought the 8 of Brian McCann was going to make a move there. At 45, headed to 46, this time by the start-finish line. Is such a fascination from some of these camera shots, seeing these drivers line their way up, heading into turns 1 and 2. Halfway point of this race is lap number 75. Stage ends at lap 90. Oh my goodness, we're going to be here for a while. At least that's what it feels like sometimes, but again, we have the pace that we have here, 27.7 seconds average per lap throughout the field here. In fact, a good majority of the field is running 27.7 seconds. So while we have a chance, let's see, lap 48 across the start-finish line. Let's go ahead and show the previous lap times here as these drivers reach the start-finish line. Jonathan Burt, a rare slower lap for him. As we look in the background, the 26 of Travis Dart running the middle lane, running about 1 lane higher. Crossover with the 13 who ends up at the outside wall. Hopefully no steering damage for the 13 because that car is absolutely flying through tonight. And he'll go down to the inside lane. Well, inside one of the multiple inside lanes. Saying just inside lane singular is putting it very lightly in this instance. Lap times starting to slow down for all of these drivers across the field now that they've gotten a few laps in. It's been 17 laps already since they last went to pit road. Now that everyone's slightly spread out, I think we do, dare I say, have a chance to take a look at the live championship points once again. At the moment, Cameron Sarton could lock himself in immediately into the championship 4, but what we're mainly looking at here is the cut line. William Duff might, depending on how next week goes, he might still have a chance, luckily, for that number 17 machine. So not all is said and done just yet. I mean, look at this. 3rd through, 7th, and the championship standings are separated by, what's that, 5 points? 2,034 points for Jonathan Burt. And it's going to be 2,033 points here, now that Michael Thorpe Jr. has made his way by, but could be back to 2,034. No, it won't. Into the outside wall goes the 6 of Jonathan Burt. Here comes Travis Starr. Not able to make a move to the inside just yet. The outside wall at the exit of turn number 2 is getting a lot of love today, apparently, but the drivers are not loving it in return. The 6 drastically slower, holding up the 13 of Hunter Karsten. I saw a frame or a flash of the 32 using the apron. 2-point difference between Jonathan Burt and Michael Thorpe Jr. We still have the stage points at lap 90. For those of you who might be new, first of all, welcome. Secondly, stage points at the end of lap 90. So, typical NASCAR rules state at the completion of a stage, there's caution, top 10 points get awarded. But for this league, there is no stage caution. Unless the caution just happens to come out around that time of the stage, but knocking on wood, we have not yet had that. So the format is at the completion of lap 90, first place gets 10 points, second place gets 9 points, 8 points go to third place, etc., down to 1 point for first place. Travis Starr is looking to get those extra points, even though he's not in championship contention. He is still in contention to fight for 5th place in the standings when all is said and done at the end of the season. And oh, by the way, for at least tonight, the theme is Texas Speed. Or just Texas, basically. And it looks like we have found out the failure. I was correct in the sense of a hardware failure for Daniel McConnell. He has graciously let us know 10 minutes ago that his middle monitor had decided to black out and he had to restart everything. So that is genuinely unfortunate. I've had that happen to me once before. Luckily not during a race, but it is mildly terrifying, especially when the computer tries to go, oh, okay, let's use the other available monitors, and switches everything. So that's the upside and downside of the contention of whether or not mechanical failures should be in racing sims. I'd argue, yes, just make it hosted sessions only for the sake of everybody. At the same time, we already have quote-unquote mechanical failures with hardware in real life, as unfortunately demonstrated by Daniel McConnell. And, oh, by the way, for those of you who may be an iRacing member or somehow came across this and you're not an iRacing member, again, I say welcome. iRacing is doing a Black Friday deal right now. It has started. So just head to iRacing.com/Black Friday. You'll be able to renew for 25% off on a 1 or 2 year subscription, or new users can sign up for 50% off. No, I'm not directly sponsored by iRacing, but this is the platform that you are watching this on after all. Currently at lap 60, closing into the halfway point of this race, that being lap 75. Not going to commercial just yet, but this is how things stand at the moment when it comes to the, well, running order. Starting off with the number 1 of Cameron Sarton, who has appropriately, with the title of Ghost Racing, snuck his way up to first place. He started second, currently sits in first. So far, so good. Ditto for Brian McCann. Started third, currently sits in second, chasing down Cameron Sarton in that number 1 machine. The outside, the driver that has started outside the top 3 is now in the top 3. This is Michael Thorpe Jr. He started 7th place, currently sits in 3rd, absolutely flying through, using all of the available racetrack to him, and I don't blame him one bit. Travis started 10th. He currently sits, of course, in the 4th place position. Doing pretty good so far. Again, got knocked out by effectively 2 points. It was 1 point to tie Tony Brent last week, and he was unable to do so. But regardless, it's still a fantastic run for Travis Start so far this week. He'll be fighting his way for the 5th place spot in the championship standings. And speaking of fighting for 5th place is Hunter Karsten. You wouldn't be thinking that we would be saying this, considering he started in 1st. But ran into, well, a wall a little bit earlier on, so trying to recover, may have some damage on his car, so potentially no steering damage by the looks of it. Of course, he is still out on the racetrack. 6th place, Jonathan Burt. He started in 6th, and he currently sits in, well, 6th. I think very conveniently you'll find Travis Start around the 6th place position here in this series. Tony Brent started in 5th, currently sits in 7th, trying to get a feel for the track still. A throwback paint scheme to the Haviland number 28, and I absolutely love the chrome on that car. That is just beautifully well done for that paint scheme. Philip Chavez in the 101 currently sits in the 8th place position after starting in 4th, also trying to get a feel for the track as well. His last race this season, due to real-life commitments during the races for the next 3 weeks, or at least around the same time that would prevent him from running, but it's been great seeing the 101 running this season. David McConnell sits in the 9th place position after starting in 8th, so on paper, not too bad for the 22 machine. Again, still just trying to get a feel for the track in no man's land, and I would say an advantage of clean air. The 88 of Heberly Telemac started 11th, currently sits, well, 11th, because the 3 of Ryan Lynch, who started 12th, well, is trying to get to 10th. There he goes, through to the inside. Well, those two fighting it out for the 10th place spot. Last driver on the lead lap here is the 39 of Doug Pierce. Did not set a qualifying time. Sits in 12th place. And currently last of the running drivers, sitting 1 lap down, is Zachary Lovelace. A lot of bad luck, I feel like, for Lovelace. He's doing pretty good. He's been doing pretty good for the most part this season, and then missed 1 race. And just not gelling with this track so far tonight as he scrapes the outside wall. Daniel McConnell started 13th. He is currently off and out. Same goes for the 17 of William Duff. He started 9th and is currently out, the first driver to not finish this race due to a very heavy front end damage. No doubt just couldn't repair the front end of that car. Just like that, we are 6 laps away from the halfway point of this event. Estimated about 38 minutes remaining here in this race as things currently run. And down the back straightaway they go. We haven't really had a chance to do this just yet, so let's go ahead and ride on board for a couple laps with Travis Starr. So it looks like Hunter Karsten has made his way back up to the 5th place spot, currently trying his best to chase down the rest of the top 4. They're all running about the same lap times right now. Go ahead and show the previous lap at the start-finish line for these drivers. Notably, Hunter Karsten, about 28.3 average for a lot of these drivers. Pretty much all the way down through the field as they cross the start-finish line. So Hunter Karsten about 0.06 of a second off of Travis Starr, who was faster than the top 3, trying his best to sneak his way up there as well. Well, at this point, we are at the halfway point. Well, not officially, but also officially at the halfway point of tonight's event. But still, 75 laps left. Oh, look at the slide of the 34. That right rear definitely stepped out, it looked like, on the entry turn number 3 there. Either way, halfway point at this event. We're going to go ahead and step away and go side by side while we still have a chance, but you won't miss any bit of the action.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Here at TWRS, we're always here to help our squad when they need a little push in the right direction. That's just who we are. We're a beautifully diverse group of goofballs dedicated to driving fake race cars as fast as possible. And we continue to push each other to the front using the power of nonsense. We have one of the strongest NASCAR programs on the service, and you can access it all for $24.99 a month. And we just released individual subscriptions for $14.99 a month for each NASCAR vehicle. We also just added a Rallycross program, and our IndyCar program is taking off as well. So come join the weird side. We have speed and cookies. Cookies are not included in some locations.
We are back live here in the virtual Avondale, Arizona, at the virtual Phoenix Raceway under the lights here for the Texas Speed 150 here, Season 7 of the Full Send Racing Series. is halfway through tonight's event, as we saw Michael Thorpe Jr. try and pull effectively a slide job on the 8 of Brian McCann just as we went to the break, but unable to complete the move was the 34, so he currently sits third right now, trying to defend his position from the 26 of Travis Dart, who will move to the inside lane. This is going to be crucial for the 34 Michael Thorpe Jr. as we go ahead and take a look at the live standings. As the 33, Zachary Lovelace getting out of the way up on the outside lane. Cameron Sarton, of course, if he were to win, would lock himself in, but the main, actually pretty much everybody here in the top 10 right now. So first through 7th in the championship are all in various positions in the top 10. Ryan Lynch is the first driver, it looks like, to go to pit road, where we can't get really any good angle. There we go. 5 laps away from the end of the stage. It has been 53 laps since these drivers were last on pit road. Again, 10 points for first, 9 points for second, 8 points for third, all the way down to 1 point for 10th. And yes, that does include Travis Dart, as he will be fighting for points to get himself up to at least 5th place in the championship standings by the end of the season. Let's go ahead and take a look at this battle for 3rd place as crash! It's a 3 of Ryan Lynch and the 34 Michael Thorpe Jr. is involved. The engine is done. 2 laps away from the stage. We'll have to wait and see how the points are going to be awarded. There is a ruling for this. We are about 3 laps away from the stage. There is a ruling for this. We'll have to take a look at the rule book here. And already, pit road is immediately opened. Oh my goodness. The 26 of Travis Dart also got caught up in that. We need to take a look at the rule book here. As we'll also go ahead and we'll see how... I'll see what the rule book says here in this instance. First of all, let's rewind. Something happened to the 3 of Ryan Lynch just as he had gotten off pit road as well. You know, somewhere in turns 3 and 4. I mean, this was just in front of the leaders. I'm not sure what happened. Okay, let's see. Just loses grip, nails the outside wall. Oh man, nothing he could have done there. There is realistically nothing the 3 could have done there. Let's ride on board. And no doubt he was on the brakes. You can only hold the brake for so long. It can only do so much. Let's take one more look. Let's ride on board the 34. Oh, it broke the steering. Yep. There is nothing the 34 could have done there. I'd say it's just incredibly unfortunate. Let's see where the stages are. Let's see. Stage points will be rewarded after finishing the listed lap. If a caution comes out close to the stage, the positions at the time of the stage can determine the stage. If during caution the listed lap is complete, stage points will be rewarded to the positions at the time the caution came out. Well, we're under caution, and Here's the exact ruling of the rule book as well. Steve Benjamin, please quickly message me in case you're happening to be listening if I'm incorrect with this one. But the stage points should be awarded as of lap, I believe, 88, if anything, or 87. If a caution comes out close to the stage, the positions at the time of the caution can determine the stage. If during caution listed lap is complete, like right here, if during caution the stage lap is complete, then stage points will be rewarded to the positions at the time the caution came out, not the positions during the caution or after the yellow flag stops. Well, if we resume racing and complete a lap prior to the listed lap, well, we are after the listed lap, so I might have this ahead of time, but in that case, I'm glad I put this in early because the positions at the time of the caution were from 1st to 10th, Cameron Sarton, Brian McCann, Michael Thorpe Jr., Travis Dart, Hunter Karsten, Jonathan Burt, Tony Brent, Philip Chavez, David McConnell, Heberly Telemack. That is tentatively what the stage positions and points are.
Green flag.
Hopefully a list of just the stage positions in terms of car numbers are posted at some point. But regardless, we are back under green flag conditions after a shock crash involving two drivers who both had ample opportunity to get points. One of which is still running, but is in 11th. The crash in the back, that is Doug Pierce in the number 39 machine. He keeps going. Let's go ahead and rewind this to see what happened here to the 39. Did he lose traction off turn? Yes, he did. Might have some left front steering damage, but no harm, no foul. It says stage points awarded for P1 through P10. I wonder if that's on this restart or not, but we'll have to wait and see post-race effectively. Regardless, having to recover from that, we are just about under 60 laps to the end of the race. $55 laps to go as we hit the start-finish line. Cameron Sarton leads, Hunter Carson second, and that could all change as the 88 is around on the back straightaway. Caution is out. Lap 96 is our most recent caution. The same thing that happened to Doug Pierce. Luckily, no contact with the inside wall. Quick spin. And he's down in the way. Well. Tony Brent, the lone driver to pit road, hoping to get an edge over the competition here, even if it is by only a couple of laps. Let's see, 55 coming to 54 laps to go in this race. The only driver in pit road, I did say it was Tony Brent. Yes, himself and Heberly Telemack are in pit road. Lights still active on the pace car. And getting the wave around, that was the 33 of Zachary Lovelace, back to being one lap down. So close yet so far with getting his lap back, getting back on the lead lap. He has been gaining positions though. Caution, of course, out here at the speedway, and not any potential way to see who exactly is who has what stage points. Not sure if it was or after the restart or if it was before. Gonna have to double check the point standings of the rulebook one more time. But I cannot exactly in good faith say these are for sure the championship standings, or the stage positions, more accurately, until we see those positions post-race. We can still give you said points, of course. In fact, let's do that right now. So in a very rare case, here are the championship points without the stage points in mind. That being, of course, Cameron Sarton still leading, and if he does win, he locks himself into the championship 4. Same goes for Brian McCann. Hunter Karsten putting a good name in for himself, along with Jonathan Burt. And because those two are, in terms of Brian McCann and Cameron Sarton, in terms of, because of how close they are, we do have this graphic as well of just showing the quote-unquote main focus around the cut line, where it is Hunter Karsten, Jonathan Burt fighting above the cut line, just by a few points as well. Tony Brent outside looking in by 3 points, and that is just to tie. Michael Thorpe Jr. a shock exit early on in this race by no fault of his own. He does have the potential to make his way in next week as well, and not all is said and done just yet. He has officially retired from this race. That now makes effectively 4 drivers officially out. Pace car has pulled off. Through turns 3 and 4, they go towards the restart zone here.
Green flag, green flag.
Green flag is called, and it flies once again. Not getting a good start on the outside lane is the 13 of Hunter Karsten. Not the best start, as that allows the 8 of Brian McCann to get to the inside. And good news for anyone, the only way that, I say everyone necessarily, well, yeah, the only way that Brian McCann can lock himself in, same with Cameron Sarton, is not mathematically. It would have to be by winning. Although there's nothing stopping Brian McCann from, well, no, it would have to be 45 points, and as of now, the gap is 10 points. No, 30 points, correction, between Brian McCann and the cut line, that being specifically Philip Chavez. So even if Brian McCann, he just has to show up next week effectively in order to get himself in. Nearly making contact with the back bumper of the 13 is the 6 of Jonathan Burt. He has made his way back up through the field, and just as we pull the graphic away with it, you have to pull the graphic back out again. Jonathan Burt 1 point ahead of Tony Brent in the cut line, and conveniently, he's also 1 position ahead of Tony Brent here on the racetrack. And there are tiebreaker rules in effect if need be. But that has to come down to the cutoff race, not for this race, so nothing to worry about just yet. As the 6 goes wide in turns 3 and 4, wide on corner entry, that puts Tony Brent up to 4th place. Philip Chavez is going to try and make a move, but look at the 6 of Jonathan Burt. Immediate crossover, albeit by a huge distance, but a crossover attempt nonetheless by the 6. He has stagnated to 5th place for the time being. Jonathan Burt goes defensive against the 1. Great job by Jonathan Burt. Great track awareness as well. Tony Brent has set his sights on the 13 of Hunter Karsten. And Karsten going to be doing his best defensive drive if the 28 does catch up, but this is fantastic for Karsten. Entire top three are all back in the top three from where they had started. A little bit on the back foot for the 13, and a little bit on the back foot on corner exit as well for the 101 of Philip Chavez. Slides off turn number 4, just holds on to it. Riding on board with Tony Brent. Start 5th, currently sits 4th, trying to track down and get by the 13 of Hunter Karsten. I can hear the underside of the car hitting the apron as well. This is also a key thing, is that you have to be very careful with the banking transition. It is very possible that you can upset the car with how aggressive you take the apron. Not saying it's, most of the time it's relatively fine, but it is still a very real risk of upsetting the underside of the car. I know from driving the next gen, you see that's why some drivers, I say some, because Karsten is taking the entire dog leg for the most part, but that's why some drivers are just going effectively one car width or one lane under that yellow line. It may not prove successful because here comes Tony Brent for 3rd place down the back straightaway. He'll make the move, puts the nose there. Side by side they go through turn number 3. Tony Brent is in line for a possible podium finish. As you see the car wobble there, both on the banking transition, both times on entry and exit. Very marginal between these two drivers here. Just like that, Tony Brent has made his way up to the 3rd place position. Now, can he set his sights? Well, of course, he's already set his sights on Brian McCann and Cameron Sarton, although having a little bit of a secondary idea is the 13 of Hunter Karsten. Even from up above, you can see just how harsh the banking transition is. Right now, in terms of lap time, let's go ahead and give that to you. It is a faster lap time for Tony Brent by just about a 1/10 of a second here. Let's go ahead and throw up the previous laps up on the left-hand side of your screen. A 28.0 for both McCann and Sarton, but not for Tony Brent. He's about 1/10 of a second faster. The track has started to play in the favor of Tony Brent. 71 degree air temperature, 75 degree track temperature. And we are closing in on 35 laps to go. The final stretch of this race, and I believe these drivers effectively could, if they really had to, make it to the end. And the 8 of Brian McCann is just sitting on the gearbox, and has been, of Cameron Sarton ever since the restart, and ever since these drivers had sorted everything out. See, the gap is visibly closing here. 0.5 of a second between Tony Brent and, well, 0.6 of a second actually between Tony Brent and Brian McCann. 0.7 of a second between, in fact, that is the interval on the bottom right-hand side as opposed to the full gap. We see the gap is closing, just very slowly, but surely. Again, this track could strike at any time as well. We've seen the lack of grip, namely out of this corner right here. We've seen it happen for a few drivers. We've seen it through turns 1 and 2 as well. 33 laps to go, and it looks like McCann has started to very slightly fall back. It's about car length now. He's going to decide to take the apron, to take the dog leg a little bit more, but again, it's a very marginal difference here, and in fact, he is definitely falling back. There's 0.5 of a second between Tony Brent and Brian McCann. Equal lap time between the two drivers, nearly by, well, about 1,000th of a second separated their previous lap times between the 8 and the 28. As we just take a look from up above, from seeing the best visual indicator of how these drivers are driving this track, it is 0.05 of a second advantage for Tony Brent last time by the start-finish line in terms of lap time, but it has to be way more consistent. And not to say Brent isn't consistent, but it just has to be a bigger gap to really make a dent in that time. About 0.02 of a second separate the lap times. Meanwhile, through all of these four, the fastest one is Hunter Carson, 28.144. The other three are running 28.2. So at least the last time by, Hunter Carson was the faster driver. This time by, it goes in favor still. Well, no. It's a tie of the last lap between nearly all three of these drivers. You cannot make this up. Take a look to the right-hand side, or the left-hand side, sorry, of your screen. Look at the top four. 28.183, 0.181, 0.199, and then the 0.181 again. I just can't believe that. All these drivers have stagnated in their own bubble in a sense. The slower one of... Actually, no, the faster one of all these four is Cameron Sarton this time by. All four of them are just trading lap times. Lap after lap after lap. Well, we have a chance. Let's take a look at this battle going on for the 5th place position. Let's take a look at Jonathan Burt. Firmly sits in 5th place. Philip Chavez sits in 6th. That is a tongue twister and a half right there. And these three drivers are running about the same lap time as well, 28.3 average. More in-depth, it's a 28.338 for Jonathan Burt, a 28.360 for Philip Chavez, 28.374 for David McConnell. The gap has grown a little bit between Tony Brent and Brian McCann. So Brent had a moment, but maybe got by Hunter Carson a bit too late, but there's still 25 laps to go at the start-finish line, which would put these drivers at, I believe, lap 60 on their runs. Longest I believe we've seen these drivers run is about 55-ish laps before we had a caution. And the gap continues to grow, so there's now two separate battles between two separate drivers. It's Cameron Sarton, Brian McCann battling for the win. Tony Brent, Hunter Carson currently battling for 3rd place. 24 laps to go. The tire wear is getting to these drivers. Remember a bit earlier, we mentioned Tony Brent was one of the drivers to pit early under the previous caution. Well, it doesn't seem to have done him a little bit of luck. It did for the short term, but 8 lap fresher tires mean nothing to Hunter Karsten in terms of the last time they had pit. Karsten was there throughout the entire lap. He'll try again through the dog leg. Does he send it down to the apron? He does not. We've only seen really one driver who is willing to use the entire apron, and that was Michael Thorpe Jr. Everyone else is very content with staying above the yellow line unless it's the dog leg. I wouldn't really expect a move in turns 1 and 2 unless it would be the final lap, so I'm pretty sure that they would not want to really make the tires a little bit more worn than they had to be. There goes Hunter Karsten to the inside of Tony Brent, battling it out for the third place position on the track. Not only that, but battling it out for the 1 point that sits between these two drivers. Third and fourth on track, third and fourth in the championship standings. Side by side through turn 4 they go. Advantage clearly is going to go to Hunter Karsten here. He flies by the 28 of Tony Brent. Brent meets him even though, mid-corner through turns 3 and 4, still side by side. Neither of them willing to give an inch. And it goes in favor of Tony Brent unless Hunter Karsten, no, he does not have the momentum to make a move to the inside. 20 laps to go at the start-finish line, and still single file between these front two runners. These two, however, not necessarily. Karsten got by. It's a crossover for Tony Brent, who cannot carry the momentum, and third and fourth on track remains to be the phrase between these two drivers, not including stage points, which is a very rare saying from what I would normally say. We'll have to wait post-race to see what the stage points officially are. I don't want to have the incorrect points, especially at this part of the season, as Tony Brent wants to get any single point possible. Doesn't really care what stage points are for him, but if the stage points are as I think they are, as opposed to knowing, it would be Hunter Karsten with the advantage by 2 points, but we cannot say that for sure yet. So at the moment, it's just current position points. And Tony Brent tried all he can, tries once again in the dogleg, but not really able to carry the momentum to challenge Hunter Karsten for third place, despite having 8 lap fresher tires. "17 laps to go. The race is not over yet, especially around the top 5. Jonathan Burt, Philip Chavez, David McConnell, 5th, 6th, 7th. Burt and Chavez fighting it out for the 5th place positions. 0.3 of a second between Sarton and McCann. A rare saying that I would say is that Cameron Sarton is gapping Brian McCann on the racetrack. Last time by is a 100th of a second advantage to Brian McCann in terms of the previous lap time, but Sarton is starting to very slowly widen the gap and put himself in a firm position of making it into the championship 4. As we keep an eye on the running positions between these 3 drivers here for 5th, 6th, and 7th. Lap times between them, there was advantage to Jonathan Burt, who just barely left a little bit of paint on the wall on the outside. 0.4 of a second now between Sarton and McCann. Advantage still goes to Jonathan Burt. He is 1/10 of a second faster last time by. Dare I say, looks like everything is starting to sort itself out here now that we get ourselves onto this long run. Still 14 laps to go, though, and a lot can happen in between them. Hypothetically, Doug Pierce could just pull it behind the garage and still get a 10th place finish. He will not be passed on laps for Travis Dart, who's still sitting repairing his car. Doug Pierce sitting in pit road for the last 2 minutes. Not sure if he ran into some other issues, but I believe, remember earlier that Doug Pierce was one of the drivers that did spin, well, the driver that spun out of turn number 2 and nosed the left front into the inside wall. But hypothetically, if he really wanted to, Pierce could park it because he will not be passed by Travis Dart. Doug Pierce is 12 laps down. Travis Dart 49 laps down, but because they're sitting in their pit stall, they are not officially out of the race. In terms of finishing results, themes, well, the theme is speed and consistency, that's for sure, as things seem to look to be so. Gap continues to widen. Cameron Sarton setting the pace. Again, we will wait and see. The points for the finishing positions are, of course, will be finalized as per usual, but the stage, we will have to wait. 10 laps to go. But maybe there is a chance that Michael Thorpe Jr. did score stage points, and effectively 8 of them. And if that is the case, he would be he would be pretty safe, I believe. He would still have a chance of getting into the championship 4. Emphasis on would, but again, have to wait and see how things fare. Zachary Lovelace scraped the outside wall. That's where the smoke was from. Same goes for Cameron Sargent. These drivers like to be so ridiculously precise, and I find it fascinating that they can be so precise, as both of them, both our front runners, slid off turn number 2. Lovelace gives them the inside lane. I find it fascinating that both these drivers can be so precise that they can be scraping the outside wall and still maintain the speed. So as things stand, 6 of the 8 drivers in the current round of 8 look to be sitting pretty for the moment. 2 of them not so much, but there is still the next week to look forward to at the Auto Club Speedway. There is a lot on the line, not only to spawn the championship 4, but of course points just in general. We still have 6 laps to go, and as things may look a bit harrowing, it is not over until it is over. There's still a lot at stake here in these last 5 laps. A lot can happen. So we're not going to sit here and say that the finishing positions are final for, well, the top 8, realistically. Lap times still being traded. Last time by, Cameron Sarton had a 28.291. That you can see it there on the left hand or the right hand side, and we'll see an update here at the start finish line. His fastest lap, interestingly, was 1 second slower, so 28.338. I'll give it a second to update if it needs to. Nope, that is the final lap time. And then for Brian McCann, a 28.387. I remember what I said about trading lap times. This is effectively what it is. Just going back and forth in terms of advantages. It's such, the millisecond differences is absolutely ridiculous and is so entertaining. 28.326 for Cameron Sarton, 28.349. Meanwhile, for 5th place, the gap has closed by a couple tenths between Jonathan Burt and Philip Chavez. Remember what I said, the positions may not always be final despite how things look with 2 laps to go and 0.6 of a second between first and second. Well, maybe that battle might be over, but this battle sure isn't. We'll keep an eye on this as they come to 2 laps to go themselves. This time by, it is the white flag at the start-finish line. Again, a lot can still happen, even on this last lap. White flag waving, final lap as we go 150 miles officially here at the Phoenix Raceway, under the lights in the desert, to kick off the round of 8. And it has been a fantastic run so far tonight for the one of Cameron Sarton. And he shows that, well, once again, this season he has shown that there is someone who can take it to Brian McCann. Cameron Sarton crosses the start-finish line and wins at Phoenix, the Texas Speed 150. Meanwhile, for 5th place, it is Jonathan Burt ahead of Philip Chavez, who slides out of turn 4 and across the start-finish line into the inside wall. But that seals it for Cameron Sarton. He has officially given himself a spot into the Championship 4, and he, no doubt, can very, very effectively just take a deep sigh of relief as he will be burning it down here on the front stretch. A fantastic job by both Cameron Sarton and Brian McCann here at the virtual Phoenix Raceway. Is he going to try and find his way to victory lane? Oh boy. Oh, we haven't really prepared for this as he just phases through the safety truck. And there's a wall there. Ooh. Well. No, hold on. I think he's still trying. I think he knows where to go. You can drive into victory lane here at Phoenix, just not through there. I think he's just going to opt for going into his pit box. Nope, he's still going to try. Well, while he tries to find the pit box, or the entry to victory lane, we'll go ahead and give you the finishing results here. Cameron Sarton, Brian McCann, Hunter Karsten are your top 3. We'll be getting an interview with those 3 in a little bit. Tony Brent finishes 4th, Jonathan Burt 5th, Philip Chavez 6th, 7th place, David McConnell 8th place, Heberly Telmack 9th place, Zachary Lovelace 10th place is Doug Pierce, and Cameron Sarton has found his way into victory lane. There we go. No official lights there placed by iRacing, but still a spot nonetheless for that number 1 machine. As we'll bring up your finishing results once again, and we'll go over your top 10 once again, since that was a little bit impromptu. But Cameron Sarton, 1st place, he advances and locks himself into the Championship 4. Brian McCann, very close on mathematically locking himself in, if he has not done so already. Stand by for that. He sits in 2nd. 3rd place, Hunter Karsten. Great job for him after qualifying in 1st place and ran into, well, the wall earlier, but I would say that's a pretty solid day for the 13 machine. Tony Brent finishing in 4th place. Great job and consistent as always for that number 28 machine. Jonathan Burt as well gets a top 5 finish on the board for Texas Speed. He finishes in 5th. Philip Chavez in the 101, 6th place. And not too bad of a finish as well for his last race of this season. Unfortunately, we will not be seeing him due to him having real life commitments elsewhere in the meantime over the last 3 races of this season. David McConnell finishes in 7th, great top 10 for him as well. Heberly Telmack and Zachary Lovelace finish 8th and 9th place respectively. 2 more top 10s to count on the stats for Texas Speed. Doug Pierce finishes in the 10th place position in pit road. The second page will hold Travis Start in the in the number 26 in the 11th place position, alongside the 34 of Michael Thorpe Jr., Ryan Lynch as well, out in 13th. 14th, Daniel McConnell and William Duff exiting in 15th place. A very early day for that number 17, which is genuinely unfortunate considering that he literally did not get a chance, barely one lap, and well, we saw how that had quite literally ended for the 17 heavy front end damage for him. Well, let's go ahead and get a interview in with your top three finishers here. I'll be starting off with the number 13 of Hunter Karsten. A fantastic job for you tonight, Hunter, as my voice breaks a little bit. It's been a long night, apparently. That's fantastic, but a great job for you. You qualified on the pole, and you managed to pull out a third-place finish by the end, especially with quite a few, I guess, literal run-ins with the outside wall at times.
Yeah, yeah. It was a solid piece, qualifying on pole. It was really fast the first run, and then I sped on pit road, which kind of ruined my chances at winning. But once the track got rubbered, I was struggling a lot more and more as the run went on. But we managed to salvage a good position.
Especially after spinning on pit road. Now, I looked at the pit entry and pit exit, where it was, of course, 45 miles an hour, but was it out of the pit box immediately? Because you were right there, so I'm wondering if you had just gotten pushed along.
No, it was me just trying to play the flaw in the system between 45 and 46. There's something
Oh,
you can
yep.
do there, and I just played with it a little bit too much and missed it by a tad bit.
I'll explain that to everyone else in a few moments. But regardless, a third place finish for you on the board nets you provisionally, and I say provisionally because even I'm not sure about the stage points just yet, but you are provisionally third place in the championship standings at maybe 2,040 points. So a close moment that's not, well, that might be taking stage points into account. I don't know. We'll see how things go with that. But regardless, still focusing on Auto Club for next week, luckily in the daytime as well, and a lot of lanes available to you and everybody else. So, your thoughts as we head to California for the next week?
Yeah, I'm personally not looking forward to it. I've always struggled mightily at Auto Club, but every time in this league I've said that and I've somehow had a good result. So hopefully we have the same result and we can make it to the final four.
Before we go ahead and let you go ahead and shout who gets it done for you in that number 13 machine.
I'd like to thank 24 Speed, 24 Social, 213 Simware, HC Sim Shots, and Guardian Autosport for all the support that they've done for me, and hopefully we can make it to the final four.
Well, let's see. Just now, good timing, managed to get the stage points as well. So, with that being updated, I'll show on screen after this. Well, you're still third, but you're, instead of being plus 3 points, you're now plus 5 points. So, a little bit concerning, but a good stage finish could cement you that spot.
Yeah, hopefully that stage finish helps, and hopefully we can get more stage points next week.
We're going to go ahead and let you go. Congratulations on your third place finish.
Thank you.
So that is the 13 of Hunter Karsten. We'll go ahead and update the championship standings for you during these interviews, and then we'll go ahead and show them to you afterwards. But we do have them updated, luckily. So we'll go ahead and show those to you after these interviews. Up next is the second place finisher, that being the number 8 machine of Brian McCann. And Brian, a good race for you as well. It looked like once the run got on more towards the end that you weren't really just able to well, you were matching the pace of Cameron Sarton, but it seemed like he had something else tonight.
Yeah, I could stay behind him for a while. My strategy there on that last run was to try to pass him on that short run because that's probably about the only two opportunity I would have. But he was I think he knew that too, so he was driving it hard. So we were both driving it hard at the beginning, so I wasn't able to get anywhere close. But longer in the run, I was trying different lines and stuff just to see if I can find anything, but I just kept everything I tried. I just kept dropping off. So um, good race. Congrats to Sarton on the win there.
Of course, we move on into the virtual Auto Club Speedway, which, slight tangent, kind of pains me to say, actually, because that layout no longer exists in real life. I never thought I'd be saying that. That is, oh man. Aside from that, we still had the virtual Auto Club Speedway, a very enjoyable track, 2 miles and effectively like 6 lanes of available space. So hypothetically, you could go 6 or 7 wide if people even really want to, but you are provisionally, I think, let me double check, 34 points above the cut line. So even just finishing, I think even just finishing second in the stage would mathematically have you advance into the championship 4, but still a race to focus on nonetheless for next week. So what are your thoughts as we head into the daytime as well at that 2 mile track?
Yeah, daytime I think is gonna really cause us to save tires a whole bunch, but I like the track. It's a tire saving track, so I've always had good experiences there, and it's not my best track, but it's not my worst either. So I think Phoenix and Dover is my worst. So I'm looking forward to next week.
Well, before we go ahead and let you go, well, I mean, you know the deal by now. Go ahead and shout gets it done for you for that number 8.
Yeah, my family, you for doing the broadcast, the league admins for putting on this show, and the sponsors who help out with it. Race control and the drivers showing up every week and everybody tuning in to watch. Thank you.
I thank you for your time. We will, well, surely talk to you again next week. That is the number 8 machine of Brian McCann. And we move on to the first place finisher who can once again relax, as the one of Cameron Sarton has officially, and no doubt in a huge sigh of relief, has advanced his way into the championship 4. So nothing to worry about for next week, but I'm still going to ask you about next week regardless as we head to Auto Club Speedway. But of course, let's go ahead and start off with tonight's run. You qualified second on the outside of Hunter Karsten, and well, at this point, not only did the qualifying pace show, but the qualifying pace showed in the race pace, with you out driving Brian McCann in the latter half in those final, effectively 61 laps.
Yeah, good track positional race, and he kept me honest for sure. So it was it felt like you just ran qualifying lap after qualifying lap, as after the first run, kind of realized the tires didn't mean that much. You could just gas it for majority of the run, and that's what we did. And I felt like we put on a pretty good show, even though I kind of had him every single lap. I couldn't he didn't force me to make any mistakes, so I think I made one bad turn in the last 55 laps, and when you do that, you got a good chance to win. So another relaxation next week, which is nice, and try and go win one.
Hopefully that is the case. And of course, moving on now to next week with the, still hate saying virtual Auto Club Speedway because now it's only existing in the virtual world, but that is the case. But regardless, still moving on to next week, 6 lanes of available space, roughly. It could be potentially 8 if everyone is insane enough to do so. But daytime that time for Auto Club. So it was relatively cooler track temperatures tonight, and shockingly a desert with was about 75-degree track temperature. So no doubt the 115-degree, if so, track temperature at Auto Club next week is maybe a slight cause for concern, I would think, for the tires for next week.
Yeah, which is a good thing. So it should provide for some good racing across all those lanes. So hopefully we get a few more people to show up, and we can go to work, and it should be a lot of fun, hopefully.
Hopefully that will be the case. And before we go ahead and let you go ahead and shout who gets it done for you for that number 1 machine.
Yeah, shout out to mom, dad, grandma for watching. Jerry Jones for God knows what he's doing, and yourself and Travis for setting it up. Appreciate it.
And thanks to you, we hope to talk to you again in, well, I would say next week. I guess both next week, but also in 2 weeks' time.
For sure. We'll see you.
That is race winner Cameron Sarton here tonight, cementing his stake into the claim of the Championship 4. And we do have the finishing results for everybody as well. Well, I say finishing results, the results as well. So in terms of the stage points, I'm not honestly sure. Looks like, oh, nope, there it is. So it looks like this goes off of lap number 90 for some reason. But it looks like the stage does go off of lap 90. So the order of the stage at lap 90, just before we show you the championship standings, is Cameron Sarton, Brian McCann, Hunter Karsten, Jonathan Burt, Philip Chavez, David McConnell, Tony Brent, Heberly Telemack, Doug Pierce, and Ryan Lynch. And now that plays into the following, where the championship standings now look like this, where Michael Thorpe Jr. is on the outside looking in. This is why I wanted to wait to be sure about the championship standings. It is Cameron Sarton who has staked his claim into the championship 4. Brian McCann surely advancing by next week. He doesn't even need to win. He just has to show up realistically, and that's it. He could wreck out and still advance. But we'll see how things fare for Auto Club. Hunter Karsten is not necessarily safe. Plus 5 points above the cut line. Same goes for Jonathan Burt. Plus 2 points above the cut line. And look at the gap. Tony Brent, Philip Chavez tied 2 points outside looking in. Then we have Michael Thorpe Jr. minus 12 and William Duff minus 15. Looks like Larry Griffin did not show up this week. So Doug Pierce might be able to cement his stake in the lucky number 13 spot in the championship standings. And we see Travis Start, Ryan Lynch, a couple of points apart. Heberly Telemack, 1,082 points. In 11th, Zachary Lovelace, 1,073 points. Those positions could realistically still change. Again, 5th through 12th could still be up for grabs for a lot of these drivers in the last 2 races. Again, once we get the championship 4 decided, 5th through 8th, they lose the 2,000 points they had. They pretty much get reset back to effectively the same level, quote unquote, as 9th through 12th. So they will all have 1,000 or 1,100 points, depending on how the next few races go, by the time we get to Las Vegas for the start of the championship 4. But that is what your championship standings look like heading into the next race. And what is the next race? Well, we have mentioned it quite a lot, of course, and said next race is going to be at the ever so famous and sadly now slightly, partially, maybe half demolished Auto Club Speedway. 100 laps next week, with the round of 8 being decided here. And this is going to be one heck of a race as well. And in the daytime, in broad daylight, a hot track service, no doubt. And that is next week at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, live at 9:25 p.m. Eastern Time. Same for everybody else unless you're in Arizona, which in that case it has been moved to an hour later, quote unquote, moved at 7:30 Arizona Standard Time. Arizona Standard Time? Mountain Standard? I don't even know what the time zones are anymore at this point. But we head to Auto Club next week to decide which 2 drivers will be cementing themselves into the last 2 spots in the Championship 4. Tune in next week to find out who will be fighting for the championship over the course of 2 races in total. A very unique format here, something that I love about this schedule. We will see you next week at the virtual Auto Club Speedway.